peace must be sought above all.
Our military forces are committed to peace.
We have chosen peace.
Our wish, our prayer is for peace.
We yearn for peace. We pray for peace.
For thousands of years, humans have tried to find peace. Peace as individuals. Peace as families. Peace for the entire human race.
We want to lay the foundation of peace for generations to come. We want to do the hard work now so our children and our grandchildren can grow up in a peaceful world.
The future we want. Opportunity and security for our families, a rising standard of living, a sustainable, peaceful planet for our kids. All that is within our reach.
Yet, despite humans' best efforts, peace has been elusive. For millenniums, rulers and governments have tried to achieve peace through treaties, resolutions, summits, and, ironically, war. Our peace as humans is more fragile than ever. Man's efforts to bring about lasting peace have failed, time and time again.
This isn't surprising to us. Jeremiah 10:23 tells us, "It does not belong to man to direct his step." Humans were simply not designed to rule themselves.
Good health, safety, overall well-being, these are becoming harder to find as we move further into what the Bible refers to as the last days.
As long as human rule continues, disunity will continue.
It's true that global peace cannot be obtained by human efforts alone, but those who are close to God can find peace of mind right now. Isaiah 48:17 and 18 says, "I, Jehovah, am your God, the one teaching you to benefit yourself, the one guiding you in the way you should walk. If only you would pay attention to my commandments, then your peace would become just like a river."
It's only Jehovah who has the ability to guide humans to real, lasting peace. He promises he will bring this about. Until this happens, Jehovah continues to provide ways for us to experience peace now. How does he do that? By giving us the peace of God that surpasses all understanding. We aren't the only ones whose peace has been challenged. God's Word is filled with accounts of faithful servants whose peace was challenged by the dominating forces of their day. As we study and meditate on these accounts, the lessons we learn from them help us to trust in Jehovah as he guides us to peace.
Understanding how these accounts relate to Jehovah's purpose to bring peace by means of his messianic kingdom gives us confidence that his purpose never fails, and he will support and guide us on into the future. One of Jehovah's prophets who learned this lesson firsthand was Jonah. Jonah lived in the 9th century BCE. Jehovah assigned Jonah to go to Nineveh, a city of the Assyrian Empire. Based on what he knew about Nineveh, Jonah considered this to be an intimidating and threatening assignment.
The Assyrians are known as fierce warriors, and Nineveh itself is later described as a city of bloodshed. So you can understand Jonah's trepidation when Jehovah asks him to proclaim a judgment message against this imposing city and its pagan inhabitants. In an attempt to find peace, Jonah decides to go far away from Nineveh and boards a boat headed for Tarshish. Tarshish is generally associated with modern-day Spain. So from Israel, this is the complete opposite direction of Nineveh. Jonah found anything but peace.
Look!
By the gods.
Furl the sail!
Now this was no ordinary storm. It was so severe that the ship was in danger of being wrecked.
Captain! We're taking on too much water! The storm is for the gods!
The crew cried out to their gods, but Jonah knew the true source of the storm. And now he accepts personal responsibility for the situation.
Lift me up and throw me into the sea, and the sea will calm down for you. For I know that it's because of me that this violent storm has come upon you.
Can you imagine the courage it took for Jonah to make this request? He had no way of knowing if Jehovah would save him, but he did not want others to perish on his account. In his mercy, Jehovah spares Jonah's life.
How am I still alive? What will become of me?
When faced with a difficult assignment, Jonah got up to run away from Jehovah, to Tarshish. Jonah's conscience had to bother him. He had to be questioning his decision. He tried to take matters into his own hands, tried to find his own peace. Where does he find himself? In the belly of a fish. Yet he calls to Jehovah in a moment of despair.
Oh, Jehovah, out of the depths of the grave, I cried to you for help. Please hear my voice. What I have vowed, I will pay.
Jonah could have reasoned that this was the end of his assignment as Jehovah's prophet. After all, he did disobey direction. So likely he was surprised to hear the word of Jehovah come to him a second time.
Jonah, get up, go to Nineveh, the great city, and proclaim to her the message that I tell you.
Yes. Yes, thank you.
At first, Jonah trusted in himself and didn't understand that Jehovah would protect him from the violent Assyrians. But after being given a second chance, what happens? Well, then he puts aside his human concerns and looks to Jehovah for protection.
In just 40 days more, Nineveh will be overthrown. Jehovah, the true God, has spoken. This city will be destroyed. Nineveh will be overthrown. True God will overthrow Nineveh. The true God has spoken.
Eventually, the king himself repents and orders everyone in Nineveh to do the same. Jonah learned a valuable lesson from this experience. By originally running away from Nineveh, he chose to trust in himself rather than putting his trust in Jehovah.
Are you Jonah?
I am.
Mommy says he saved us.
No, Jehovah saved you. I was just a messenger.
Jonah learned that without a doubt, Jehovah protects those who trust and obey him. If Jehovah's asked you to do something, if he's asked me to do something, if he's leading us, he absolutely will guide us through it. Jonah's account proves this.
Although the Ninevites were spared because they repented, that's true, Assyria later returned to its evil, wicked ways. About a century after Jonah's judgment message, King Sennacherib of Assyria brought his armies against the cities of Judah, including the city he wanted most, Jerusalem.
King Hezekiah of Judah was an outstanding king who held fast to Jehovah. From the beginning of his reign, he proved to be zealous for true worship, not only in Judah, but in all of Israel. Hezekiah had done so much to stand up for pure worship. Yet now he is faced with the prospect of a siege against Jerusalem by Sennacherib's armies. Hezekiah agrees to pay Sennacherib a tribute in return for peace. Yet the armies continue their conquests as Sennacherib and his men besiege the strongly fortified city of Lachish. From here, Sennacherib sends a part of his army, as well as military chiefs, to Jerusalem in an attempt to demand surrender. The spokesman for the group was the Rabshakeh, who spoke Hebrew fluently. He loudly ridiculed Hezekiah and taunted Jehovah, boasting that Jehovah was no match against King Sennacherib.
Imagine what these soldiers must have been thinking. Sennacherib's armies were on a warpath, taking city after city. To Hezekiah, this was a defining moment. He had to decide if he would trust in himself or trust in Jehovah.
My brothers, we must remember that Jehovah is fully able to rescue us just as he has in times past.
Hezekiah! Will you not even now face the facts? We are trapped. The Assyrians are at our gate, and you cling to the belief that nothing bad will happen. You will destroy everything you so hope to preserve. The temple, Jerusalem, our very lives.
Shebna, I'm not blind to the dangers that we face. I too am afraid. But if Jehovah allows Jerusalem to fall, so be it. How can we give up what belongs to Jehovah?
So as a man of faith, Hezekiah focused on Jehovah's ability to save his people despite Sennacherib's continued advances toward Jerusalem.
I'm curious about this king of yours. Who does he think will come to save him from me? Jehovah, your God, is weak! He will cringe before my God Asher.
Hezekiah remained determined to trust in Jehovah. This decision required a tremendous amount of faith, especially with more than 185,000 Assyrian soldiers headed towards Jerusalem. Instead of trusting in himself, he continued to look for Jehovah as the source of true peace, even as an attack seemed imminent. And Jehovah again showed just how insignificant human rulers are in comparison to him.
Hezekiah learned that when a way out seems impossible, trust in Jehovah always leads to success. Jehovah rewarded that trust with victory over the Assyrians. This is a lesson we can apply now and in the near future.
There may be situations where true worshipers seem trapped, but never forget, Jehovah is all-powerful. He's leading his people, and we can follow his guidance with full confidence. Jehovah will protect those who trust in him at Armageddon.
Jerusalem remained safe against attack for the time being, but peaceful conditions didn't last long.
Hezekiah's son Manasseh did what was detestable in the eyes of Jehovah. He brought back Baal worship and personally took its vilest practices to extremes, even putting a carved image of a false god right inside Jehovah's temple. So here you have a king who's supposed to be protecting the people from idolatrous influence, doing the exact opposite, building altars to false gods. He even went so far as to pass his own sons through the fire, sacrificing them to these gods. The peace with God that Hezekiah worked so hard to achieve for the nation is now reversed by the actions of his son. Because of this, Jehovah punished Manasseh severely. He allowed the king of Assyria to take him captive to Babylon. While in captivity, Manasseh ultimately repented. He humbled himself, and he stayed faithful right to the end of his life.
Grandfather.
We can imagine him impressing the importance of faithfulness to Jehovah on his young grandson, Josiah.
Listen to me. Jehovah is holy, and you must serve him the way he wants us to. All other gods are powerless.
Yet in spite of all this, the people still thought that they could serve Jehovah and Baal. So after becoming king, Josiah started a campaign against idolatry.
I've seen this cheaper.
Take it or leave it.
We start here.
No!
This is what we will do to every false god in the land.
He tore down altars used for false worship, sacred poles, images, and statues. He was intent on cleansing the land of idolatry. Now, he showed remarkable courage to stand up for true worship at a time when few were doing so. There's no doubt this was a difficult task. At times, he may have even wondered if he was doing the right thing. It's possible Jehovah provided Josiah with assurance from the prophet Jeremiah.
This is what Jehovah says. Look, a son named Josiah will be born to the house of David. And he will sacrifice on you the priests of the high places, those making sacrificial smoke on you, and he will burn human bones on you.
That prophecy, made over 300 years earlier, confirmed that Josiah was the one prophesied to act against false worship. This may have given Josiah even greater incentive and courage to continue his campaign, which now included repairing the temple. These actions contributed to the peaceful conditions that elevated pure worship. Josiah did so much to restore pure worship. That is why we love him. Yet the people's heart condition remained polluted, so the nation required severe discipline. Jeremiah prophesied a conquest of the Babylonians against Judah.
All this land will be reduced to ruins, and this land and its inhabitants will have to serve the king of Babylon for 70 years.
Daniel himself may have heard Jeremiah speak those words, and he certainly saw it come true as he and his family were exiled to Babylon. Talk about peace being interrupted. Daniel was a young Judean prince taken from his homeland and separated from his family. But being chosen to receive special training in the court of King Nebuchadnezzar, that presented another set of challenges. The entire way of Babylonian life was contrary to what Daniel knew growing up in Judah. But Daniel was determined not to pollute himself with foods Jehovah would not approve of. And Jehovah blessed Daniel's determination to be faithful, as he was selected to serve as one of King Nebuchadnezzar's wise men.
Nebuchadnezzar was a warrior king intent on building a great empire. After he officially took the throne in 624 BCE, his domain grew with each conquest. Babylon became an epicenter of trade and commerce. Nebuchadnezzar undertook huge building projects throughout the city, which made the city seem impregnable. Imagine the sense of security the inhabitants of Babylon must have felt, locked safely behind the city's walls. Nebuchadnezzar attributed the prosperity and security all around him to the power of his false gods. The chief of these false gods was Marduk, the god of war. Yet these false gods and their priests would prove worthless. One night, King Nebuchadnezzar had a strange dream.
O king, may you live on forever. Relate the dream to your servants.
We will tell the interpretation.
No. If you don't make the dream known to me, along with the interpretation, you'll be dismembered, and your houses will be turned to public latrines.
There is not a man on earth who can do what the king demands. What the king is asking is difficult. No one exists who can tell this to the king except the gods.
Seize them. Kill them!
Jira.
You're in danger.
Why? What happened?
I didn't hear everything, but the wise men angered the king. Everyone's to be executed by dawn.
Bring Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah here. I'll try to learn more.
This edict to kill all the wise men would also include Daniel and his companions. So let's look at this from Daniel's perspective. Here he is, young man in a foreign land, serving in the court of one of the most powerful and violent men alive. And that man is now demanding that someone, in effect, read his mind. Tell me my dream, and tell me what it means.
O king, interpretations belong to my God Jehovah. He knows your dream and what it means.
Well, where is your God? Where?
I believe that I know that he will reveal it to me. Please, give me time.
Daniel is not acting on previous experience. He hasn't received interpretations of dreams from Jehovah. Instead, he is acting on faith. Faith that he had learned by studying the sacred books of his time. These books likely included the inspired writings of Moses and David, Solomon, Isaiah, Jeremiah, and other prophets. Oh, we can only imagine Daniel poring over these scrolls, opening up his heart to Jehovah, begging Jehovah to give him wisdom and understanding. He loved it. And there's no doubt that as Daniel studied these accounts, his faith was strengthened and his bond with Jehovah drew even closer. Well, even though Daniel knew nothing of King Nebuchadnezzar's dream, he was fully convinced that Jehovah would reveal the dream and its interpretation and prove to be Daniel's salvation.
Do we know exactly which accounts Daniel was able to draw from at this time? It's impossible to say for a certainty, but we do know he had access to the books. He references the prophecies of Jeremiah. Daniel could see how Jehovah blessed faithful, obedient men in the past. So by asking Nebuchadnezzar for time, he wasn't looking to buy himself another day of life. He was allowing Jehovah to reward his faith by revealing the dream to him.
Daniel strikes a balance here. Although he is confident that Jehovah will reveal the dream to him, he isn't casual in the way he handled the situation. He did what any God-fearing man would do here. He approached Jehovah in prayer.
Oh, Jehovah, surely you didn't bring us here just to die. What will people say? We told them that you are the God of the heavens, the only God who can reveal secrets. Please, vindicate yourself.
I found a man from the exiles of Judah who can make known the interpretation to the king.
I know who he is. Can you really make known to me the dream that I saw and its interpretation?
There is a God in the heavens who is a revealer of secrets. And he has made known to King Nebuchadnezzar what is to happen in the final part of the days. This is your dream. You saw an immense image. That image was standing in front of you. You yourself are the head of gold. But after you, another kingdom will rise, inferior to you. Then another kingdom, a third one of copper that will rule over the whole earth. As for the fourth kingdom, it will be strong like iron. The kingdom will be divided, and as the toes of the feet were partly of iron and partly of clay, so the kingdom will be partly strong and partly fragile.
This took a tremendous amount of faith and courage on the part of Daniel. Now, we may find our peace threatened. Our very lives might be on the line. In that moment, we can turn to Jehovah God in prayer, opening up our hearts, confident that he will support us.
Like both Daniel and Jonah, we've been given an assignment to proclaim a message. This requires courage to speak out boldly concerning Jehovah's judgments against those who oppose his sovereignty. Both of these prophets are excellent examples of Jehovah backing those who trust in him.
Jehovah will always be with us as long as we have faith in him. When we face situations that seem impossible, as in the case with Hezekiah, we have the ability to tap into the most powerful force there is.
As this system comes to a close, we will find ourselves in situations that test our courage and threaten our peace. we will have to stand up for pure worship, just like Josiah, and this will be unpopular. But with Jehovah on our side, we can face those situations with confidence. He's all-powerful, and he's going to help us through it.
Now, here's the interesting thing. Some of the prophecies that Daniel recorded applied not only to the future of the Babylonian Empire, but also outline world events to our day and beyond. And these events are being fulfilled right before our very eyes.